So here we are, another rendition of the How to Kick It podcast. Today's guest is Hogen Kwetter, a good friend of mine. Hogen, you want to introduce yourself? Tell the people a little bit about, who you are, what you do?
Yeah, thanks, Andrew. Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
First
of
of
course.
all, I'm very happy to be here. You said like the third podcast guest, and I'm really feeling honored about it. And yeah, about myself, my name is Hagen. Kwetter is the nickname of my last name. Yeah, and yeah, it's basically I'm 20. Oh no, I'm 31 years old now. Sorry, still in the loop. Yeah, I'm from Germany. I've been living there for like 26 years, been born in Germany. Um, I'm just having a German citizenship, and yeah, my parents are like probably the most German. I have probably the most German parents you can imagine. It's like if I go back in all sides, my parents like they are like super German, so but they've been actually really cool with me traveling for so long, and yeah. Maybe also languages I speak. Maybe it's not advertising, but I'm German, of course, and English, and I'm teaching German. I don't know if you knew that
I,
actually.
I had no idea that you were a teacher or a tutor of German. What kind of students are you teaching?
So it actually came up last year in May when COVID hit, and I had nothing to do. I started teaching all kinds of students, like but most likely like B1 level or not B2 level. That most of the students, they look for like a person to talk to, that they don't lose their language skills, and then of course to get better as well.
Oh, okay, so they're looking to practice what they know and then
Yeah,
also
yeah,
advance their
yeah.
skills. That's
Yeah, it's
awesome.
more like also my lessons are more like a conversation practice lesson, not like. But I also do have students they learn from scratch, so I'm actually quite proud. But, yeah, that's a different topic.
Yeah, I mean, I think teaching is such a underrated skill, like to be able to convey and share information with people and then see them like grow and develop from it. I think it's a skill that, not a lot of people have a strong appreciation for, but it's really cool that you're participating in that. To get back to kind of why we're here today, though, is you've always been such an interesting person to me because of the things that you involve yourself in while traveling. I know you as basically, if I had to sum you up in one sentence, is like a German DJ who loves to surf. And that's kind of how, if you have to put people into a box, that's kind of the box I've always put you into. And as I've got to know you better, see your social media, what you're doing with your life, I'm like, wow, this guy's like still going. He's still traveling. He's still doing the things he wants to do. Obviously, COVID has changed the scene for a lot of people and delayed a lot of what's going on. But when I met you, we met in Bali. You were DJing at a small beach bar. I think it's called, is it Paradise Beach Bar?
Yeah, I think it. And no, it was Sun. What is it? Sun Paradise or Hidden Beach Bar? One of them. They are next to each other.
Yeah. I think it's Sun Paradise. But there's a whole row of beach bars in Canggu on Bravo Beach. It's one of the best places to be. You can catch a great wave. You can get some nasi goreng, and then you can hear Hagen DJ from like till sunset, which is always cool.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but it's very interesting that you say that, because when you say in that way, I think that's actually the same box or like the same words I would wrap myself into.
Yeah,
But I think there's much more, as you also know, like
yeah, of course.
doing a lot of different stuff. I mean, there was wild bamboo that like it's not was not so successful as I hoped it to get like, and but starting an own business, being abroad, starting an own business, and you have to deal with all that legal stuff. It was kind of a thing. Yeah, I mean, now I'm sitting in Rotterdam and having like sitting in a young startup and like in a tech startup, and before I was just surfing, yeah, and
Right,
DJing. So
right.
it's quite interesting,
So
even for myself.
yeah, so obviously, like I know you in the context of a beach DJ slash surfer slash somebody trying to start these different companies. I mean,
Yeah.
what was your life, in your teens and your 20s before you started living this life abroad? Like, what was your, tell me about that.
Okay, okay, cool. It's very interesting because most people they know me from the last 5 years. They would not expect what I'm saying now, but I think like my teenage years, I always tried to be like a little bit the cool boy. I did like skateboarding, breakdancing, played basketball, downhill biking, and all this kind of stuff. But I never had this feeling to travel and being away from home, and it actually kept going until my very best friend he called me one day and he was like, "Hey, dude, like I want to go surfing." And I was like, "Huh? You always come up with this very very interesting things." And he's like, "Yeah, I just put it on my bucket list. Are you in for a surf trip?" And I was like, "Dude, I'm a little bit short in money, and at the same time I was gambling a lot, like it's a bad habit from the past." And I told him, "Yeah, man, I'm short in money, but I'm going to this casino in a few days, and let's see how it goes." And actually, I won like 1.5 grand, and I called him on the parking lot, and it's like, "Hey, dude, I'm in." and and believe it or not, and that's actually how it started. So I went with him on this surf trip to Fuerteventura on the Canary Islands.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so we did like we did this like uh, surf school with accommodation. Like everything is set up. You just go there. You have 2 lessons a day. You have food, comfortable, yeah,
Yeah.
comfortable. And yeah, and actually, like before, I was going with my parents or with my mom for holidays to certain destinations like Turkey or wherever you go, like from Germany. It's very like the most travel destinations, I guess, for like this normal 2 week holiday people.
Sure.
And I never really liked the sea so much.
Mm.
So I would rather have chosen the pool instead of the sea. And yeah, then yeah, with 20s, yeah, I think 22, I learned surfing. Yeah, and that's where it all completely changed.
You know, not to derail this, but there's a lot of people I met while living abroad that a lot of their travel lifestyle or travel reality of living abroad started with a surf camp or a surf school that they
Oh,
spent.
really?
Yeah, they spent like 2 weeks. Like they're like, oh, it's on my bucket list. This is something that I want to do that I never did before. And then they do it and they're like, I can do this myself. Like, I don't need to go to a surf school. I don't need to have everything taken care of. I can pick a location, find a cheap accommodation, feed myself, do what I want to do. And yeah, I think surf schools are amazing or incredible. But I think what it is it's kind of like a rite of passage for a lot of people in traveling. It facilitates all the things they need,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
you kind of learn like, oh, maybe I can do this on my own and see where it goes. So that's cool. So you went to the surf camp. You obviously got a little bit of independent travel feel. And at what age are you at this time?
I think it was 22.
22.
22, it was 22, it was like in summer.
Okay.
And from there on, it kind of, yeah, I got hooked. I mean, I think that's the thing about surfing. I think that should be said. Like, either you like it, love it, or you don't.
Yeah. Or you
And that's what
obsess
you
or you
see.
obsess about it. Like I think that's kind of my problem right now. It's been 4 years and I'm just like, that's all I want to do.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And
So
that was for me the same. That's also why I chose my travel locations after. So, I mean, in Germany, for everyone who doesn't know, like we have like it's kind of normal to have like between 27 and 30 days, more likely 30 days holidays a year. And so if you have 30 days a year, you really need to plan, okay? Because you also want to go skiing to Austria or to Switzerland, and yeah, you really need to. It's basically all about surfing then. Huh? It's like two weeks in like in let's say Feb, and then another 2 weeks in August, huh? And that's it.
right. And if you want anything else, you got to either be working for yourself or take some time off, like sabbatical from work.
Exactly, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And sabbatical or gap year. I think a lot of people, like nowadays, a lot of people from Germany doing sabbaticals or like just like a gap year. Especially what most people probably know is after gymnasium in Germany. Like if you go like before you go studying, like lots of young kids they go to Australia for a year and they take a year off where they like working holiday, traveling a little bit the world before they start
Yeah.
actually getting. I
What
would
is
not call studying too serious, but before it's getting serious.
I've heard the word gymnasium used by Germans before, and I forget it's a period of time in school, right?
Yeah, it's interesting. I was surprised here in the Netherlands, where I am right now, here in Rotterdam. So in the Netherlands, they have the same. It's basically after we go to like, of course, elementary school, and from there you go to like kind of after elementary school, you kind of like have the choice where you go to like low, mid, or gymnasium, and that's where you go. And with the gymnasium, you're actually able to study straight away after gymnasium. If you do other school grades, you have to do like a few more steps to be able to study, and you cannot do it in universities, like in official universities.
Right. So gymnasium is how old are you? Like 13, 14, 15?
I think, wait, from the fifth grade it starts, and it
Oh,
goes,
okay.
I think they shorten it down a little bit. I think now it's until like the 11th or 12th.
Oh, okay. That makes more
Yeah,
sense. So
yeah.
we
Yeah,
would
and
we would call that like
so 11th, 12th grade, you're probably like 16, 17 or what? 17, I guess, and then you go studying.
oh, okay. Yeah, we still I think we still call that grade school, and then we used to have junior high. I don't know if they really call it that anymore, and then high school, then university, which people in America will also call college. College and university, the same.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I get a little bit confused always with the American system, the school system. I mean, I never really watched many series or TV shows, so I don't even know it from there. That's where probably most of the people in Germany know the American school system from, is
Yeah. I mean,
most probably from TV shows.
being somebody who's
Yeah,
gone through the American school system, it's confusing for me as well. So don't
yeah.
don't feel out of
Okay.
line. Yeah. So I want to know also like where you've been since. So 22, you went on the surf trip, and from there, at least when I know you, you spent a lot of time living abroad in different countries and different places. You know, give me the short list. Like where have you been, and what
Yeah,
brought you
yeah, yeah.
there?
Yeah, I mean, it was exactly like a month ago. It was on the 15th, so one day after Valentine's Day, 5 years ago, I started traveling. And it was Thailand with friends, so it was a very easy entrance for traveling to go, because it was the first time going far abroad.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I went with 6 friends to Thailand for 3.5 weeks. It was mayhem.
I bet.
Can imagine, with your six best friends from from Germany. You go there for 3 weeks vacation. And from there I went to Bali for like a month, then Australia, and I stayed in Australia for like 3 months or so, and then I went back to Bali for another 4. Then at Fiji's, yeah, I went to and I'm back to Australia, then to the Fiji's, uh, back to Bali. So it was a lot of Bali, as you can hear.
Yeah, of
And
course.
yeah, and after like this long period of Bali where I felt like home, and I think it's still like feels like, if you would ask me where do you feel home or where is home, I would still say Bali, Canggu.
Right. Right.
It's crazy. I haven't been there for 1.5 years, and I still have this feeling. You know, when you sometimes I have very intense dreams, and then you're in your dreams, and I can smell it, and I know the roads, and I'm there. Like I could basically be myself there right now, and I know everything. It's a small island, you know it, right?
Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
spent I think almost a year and a half there altogether,
Yeah.
and I know the exact feeling of like a second home. I think when you spend that much time there, you end up having a different relationship with it than just being on a holiday, because you meet the local people and you understand what it really means to like respect the land and respect the people, and you become invested, and all of a sudden you really feel like part of the community, and you have like the local community and the international community. And yeah, talk about seeing it, smelling it, tasting it. It's still a very strong feeling and still a very strong memory in my mind.
Yeah, man, I'm getting actually a little bit
I
emotional.
know you're making me sentimental too. I'm just having flashbacks now.
Yeah, man, it's really. I think it's very hard to wrap in words, but what you say, like these different communities you have, because Bali it's like how do you say, like a medal with two sides? Can you say that? I think. like, you have this side of like localish and very beautiful island, and then you have this massive expat community, which is split in not so like not the people I would like to hang out with personally, like these cool kids and like like partying a lot. Like I did also a lot of partying, but it's always about the respect to the people and the behavior.
Yeah.
And then there's this expat group, people living there and being really integrated in everything. So um, and man, I don't know if you've been ever in Asia, you know that if you arrive in the airport, you leave the airport building, and you just smell, you're in Asia for some reason.
Yeah, you can feel it, you can sense it before you even get off the airplane. That humidity permeates the wall of the airplane, and like you're inside the plane and you're like, it's already very humid here. And it's a feeling I love because it's like I'm back. It's a place that I really enjoy being, which is so strange because my whole youth, I never set foot in Asia. I didn't set foot in Asia till I think I was like 26 years old, 27 years old. And for that to feel more like home than a place that I grew up in, it's kind of hard to explain.
Yeah. That's exactly what I mean. I mean, imagine I've been there in a total, like in the total amount. Like it was, I think, 3.5 years. I've spent there over like 4.5 years. So it was it? Well, no, it was more. I think it was like I just have to do my math. So no, it was I think 3 years over 4 years, or 3.5 years over 4 years. So I've spent a little bit time in Australia, a little bit on the Fijis, but most of the time I really spent on Bali. And imagine after spending like 3 or 3.5 years in one place, and you had this feeling after 1.5. Imagine after 3.5. I I literally, honestly, I thought, okay, this is like my place. I get old, and not like I'm growing old and die there, but you get the idea, no? It was really serious. Like, okay, I cannot deal with not living there anymore.
Yeah, there's a lot of bonuses to living there. Obviously, the quality of life is
Yeah.
higher, I think. You're able to have an impact on your local community. I remember when I would need, accommodation or motorcycle rental, I would not only just, pay for this service, but you develop a relationship with the people that you're renting from and working with, and it's cool because it feels very genuine there. It feels very, they ask you about where you're from, and all of a sudden you have a friend that you still talk to via WhatsApp or Facebook,
Yeah,
and you
yeah,
check
yeah,
in and see how the
exactly.
family's doing. And talking more about the expat community, for the people listening, we can lump it all together and say there's a huge expat community, but the expat community is so big that there are so many groups. You can always find a community of people that are into the same things that you're into. You have the content creators, you have the yogis, you have the spirituality people, you have, like you said, the party people, you have the influencers, you have the retired people that don't want to do much, they just hang out, go to dinner. You have, and I can't even name them all, but it's such an interesting place of creatives, and people living their first life, people living their second life, that yeah, it's a very awe-inspiring place. I see myself going back there. I'm not sure exactly when, but there's so many moving parts in one's life. It sometimes is hard to just take off and go. And that's something I want to talk to you about, is that there's so many people that have a feeling of wanting to explore and take a holiday or take 3-6 months off, and they don't do it. What pushed you to, obviously when you started living abroad, you didn't say, okay, I'm going to go spend 4 years abroad and then I'm going to come back to Europe. You were like, I'm going to go and see what happens. And that turned into 4 years. Yeah.
Yeah. There was not even a time frame, It's just like I sold everything, and that was actually a big step. When I decided, okay, I want to surf, and I want to surf a lot. And if I want to surf a lot, I cannot live in Germany. So I've made a plan. Okay, where can I go? and where would be the best, like where it's easy to work, where it's easy to not easy but convenient, yeah. And then I decided, hey, with German nationality, you have a very big privilege. You get very quickly a working holiday visa in Australia. So I was like, okay, Australia was never on my plan. Was never on my route, to be honest. But then I was like, okay, Australia, I can surf, I can work, I can stay there for 2 years. It's not just like, you go to Bali, burn all your money, your savings within 6 months, and then you're home with nothing, kind of. Yeah. And I was like, okay, sounds good. Sounds great. And I sold everything I had. Like, I sold my car, I sold my furniture, I sold everything. And then I was just like, okay, I go. And it was planned with my friends in Thailand. It was planned. But from there on, they asked me, like, the day before they went back to Germany and I went to Bali. I mean, I knew I go to Bali because of surfing. And they're like, but hey, where do you go? It's like, I have no idea. It's like, but which area do you go? It's like, I have no idea. So I just landed on the airport. Of course, I did like a little bit of research, and I took one of the taxi drivers, whoever been to Bali already, like they know, like the people where it's like taxi, yeah. And I say, yeah, I want to go, and they brought me to Kuta, and from Kuta I was like, no way, and yeah, but yeah, that's basically. It's just like always you have to find like why do you want to travel, where do you want to travel, and yeah, I think you need to just find your own way, your own path.
100%. And what's funny is some people that'll be listening to this will hear the idea of, oh, I sold everything and I just left, as a completely outrageous thing to do. It's something they can't wrap their head around at all. And then you'll have another community of people that will be like, oh yeah, that's exactly what I did. That's exactly how you do it, because it's like going, it's a big part of starting the journey is getting rid of stuff.
Back.
Yeah.
I think there is no way back. If you sold your stuff, there is no point of return. Like it's impossible. Like right. You would be dumb and losing your face in front of your friends when you would start buying new stuff and it's like, no, I stay here.
Yeah,
so you have to.
It's completely like 10 steps backwards, because when you take the initiative to sell everything and you've made the commitment, like you said, you have to go. You leave yourself no other option. And I would say 99% of the time, people are happy with that decision. Obviously, I'm sure there's somebody who was like, ooh, maybe that wasn't the move for me. But I mean, what compelled you? Like, obviously, you lived a life that, let's say, typical Germans live up to a certain point, and then something in you changed, and you said, I need to leave. So if you can even remember, because it's been quite some time, what was that break? What was it was surfing. What catapulted you? Because you can't surf that much in Germany, right? Only river surfing.
Exactly. Maybe that also for as a background, like in Germany, if you want to go to, you can go to France, but it's not so far away. But it's also not that you just jump in the car and you drive 3 hours and you are there. I'm born and I grew up in close to Stuttgart in southwestern part of Germany. Mm-hmm. So you're a little bit landlocked, yeah. So you really every time, and if you then go for your 2 weeks vacation, you want to go somewhere where it's nice. So you fly to Portugal or the Canary Islands. Actually, that's something. It's also maybe for the surfers listening to this. I found the Canary Islands a pretty sweet spot to surf. It's very interesting. It was pretty good.
Yeah,
I learned in this time, but it's been big. It's been nice. It's been quality waves.
What's the price point out there? Like, how does it compare? Like, is it expensive or cheap, or can you find your way?
Yeah, I mean, you can find your way, but like I said earlier, like when we went there, it was more like convenient. Like we went to a surf camp because before, so we went a few times with friends to surf camps. So everything was set up. You just book like a package. What I think, for the beginning, if you want to get out the first time, like, you know, you go somewhere, you want to maybe surf experience. And it's not just about surfing. Even if you book a surf camp, it's the atmosphere. It's the people you meet. It's this complete different mindset of what you have in your work environment. Yeah? I don't know, it just, even I saw people staying in the surf hostels or like in this like surf camps. They didn't even surf much and they not been into surfing too much, but they did it again and again because they like the vibe, you know, they like the surf. And price point. Therefore, I cannot tell. Like back in the days, I think we like 7 years ago we paid like for 10 days 1,200 euros, but you know it's like 2 times days surf coaching, food is included, accommodation is included. Nah, food not, sorry. Food you have to cook yourself, but yeah, it's been also nice places. Yeah, altogether it was probably like 1,300, 400 with the flights.
Yeah.
For like 10, 14 days.
Yeah.
That's about it.
What I think's interesting about the surf camp is that I've never personally done one, but I used to when I was living in Bali. I lived next door to one, and I would meet some people that had stayed there. And what also was interesting is I met people that did the surf camp a few years, maybe even 4 or 5 years before, and then they ended up coming back, but they didn't do the surf camp. They just stayed at the place that I was staying at, which was next door to the surf camp, because they had become familiar with it. But there's so many formidable times in your life. A lot of people, they remember high school as a very formidable time. They remember college as a time that shaped a lot of their opinions and who they are and what their attitude about life is. And then I think traveling, or not just a 2-week holiday, but, you know, taking some time outside of the country for 3 to 6 months to a year to like in your case 4 years, that's another opportunity where you get to grow and change your perspective. And I can't tell you, the surf camp again and again is usually the first step to this whole thing. I've met so many people that said, oh yeah, 5 years ago took a surf camp, met all these people from all around the world, still friends with them today, and now I live in X country because I realized that living abroad is not something that's that crazy. It's not that difficult. If you have the right tools and enough interest to do the research, you can live wherever you want. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a wealthy, super rich person lifestyle. And I think in America, we really connect travel with money. And that's just not the case. I encourage everybody that's like graduating college, if you have some time, take 6 months and just enjoy your youth, because no matter how much money you make in your life, you can never buy your youth back. And I think people need to take advantage.
And what is to you know, it's like, I think it's also sometimes nice or good to talk about how much it costs. It doesn't cost you much to live abroad. It's depending to your standards for sure. That's, I think, the biggest influence to how much money you spend. But you know, living in Bali, I used to have like pretty high standard, I would say. Not like fancy throwing money, but you know, I had like a nice place. I always ate out like 3 times a day. The biggest. That's something, you know. When I tell my friends, or like on a date or something, and you talk about traveling, and then it's like you have no imagination. If you live there and you have, let's say, the privilege, and you have some savings, or you have a job where you can work and travel in the same time, and you earn okay money, and if it's okay money in Europe, then it's a decent money to live in Asia for. You know, I spent maybe, let's say, 1,100 euros a month, with a very good, and that's what I wanted to say, like if you talk to friends or a date or whatever, and you say, they never got this, and it's like, my biggest thoughts or worries in the morning when I woke up is, where am I going for breakfast?
I know that feeling, and I know there's people listening to this right now, and they're like, I know exactly what he's talking about. Yeah, and just to let people know, that's all inclusive. That is your motorcycle rental, that is your accommodation, that is all your expenses. That I think
3 times food a day outside,
quality food, food from around the world. If you can think of it, they have it in Bali. There are other cities and other countries that can do the same thing. It all depends on where your interests lie. Maybe you're more of a city person. I know Bangkok can be very affordable, and you can have anything your heart desires in that city. I have friends live in Sri Lanka. I have friends living in Sri Lanka doing a similar lifestyle to Bali. I have friends in China. I have friends even living in different parts of Europe because they find, the places that speak to them, but you got to allow yourself the time to physically go and do the research. And yeah, man, it's just, you're getting me all fired up. Like when when these borders open, man, we're going to meet up and we're going to catch some waves
Sri
again.
Lanka, I mean, Sri Lanka have been the latest place where I've been. So after like 4 years, it was like 4 years almost Bali. I left. Actually, it's quite interesting story. I left for a girl, not because of her, but it was like kind of a little bit connected. And I was like, yeah, okay, I go to Germany. I also felt, okay, Bali is not the right place anymore. Then I met her, so it made it easier to leave like 2 months earlier as it was planned. Yeah, That's how life sometimes goes. And I decided to go to Berlin. And as a DJ, really connected to music and art as well. So, it was like really cool. And I stayed 3 months. I actually never met the girl again. It was like this Bali story. I never met her again. I went to Berlin. We never saw each other. I just got my suitcase. She took back to Germany for me. But and then I went to Sri Lanka. It was in January 2019. So right before all this COVID stuff happened. And man, Sri Lanka was cheap. Like if you really want, you can live with 600 euros easy. Mm-hmm. That's insane.
You went just this last year, 2020, 2019?
2020, yeah, 2020, yeah. That was 6th of Jan, 2020. I went to Sri Lanka, stayed there for like 2.5 months. And what I wanted to say, because we talked about food, they have good food. They have also internationals. They have Australians setting up hostels where you get like good food and like you have this like fancy places.
Have you been did you go to the doctor's house?
Yeah, of course, man. Of course.
Shout out to the doctor's house. That
Wednesdays
place is awesome.
Saturdays.
Yeah, I love that place, man. So yeah, I spent 3 weeks in Sri Lanka, and all I felt was like, man, I wish I would have spent longer here.
Yeah, but dude, it got a bit when I was there, like doctor's house. There was some problems with, the local stuff.
Yeah.
And the expats there, so they were not allowed to sell alcohol anymore.
No way.
Yeah, it was very interesting. So
tell people a little bit about the alcohol situation in Sri Lanka and how you have to go to the barred window and it's kind of like it's like a bank. You have to go to the bank to buy alcohol.
Yeah, and you feel it's a little bit a shady feeling, right? So it's imagine this like kind of like, I don't know, it's like a bank. Yeah, it's just like a counter on the bank. Like there's a glass, there's bars, and then you go there, and it's really rough. Also, like the people pushing and like try to get like in front of you in the queue, and like it's and then they're like free beers, and then they get to go to the shelf and get the free beers out or to the fridge and give it to you, and it's just like I don't know. It has like kind of it's a shady feeling, in my opinion.
Yeah, you feel like you're buying like drugs, or you kind of feel like you're buying like a gambling ticket, like at a horse race or something.
I was about to say that, when you gamble and when you change your chips to money.
Yeah, it kind of feels like that.
This like, I hope no one sees it, and then you do it, and then you just disappear, and then you're on the slot machine, and no one would see. Of course, they see you as well, but you don't have this feeling, like this awkward feeling standing there.
No, and you also have to plan because they only have certain hours that they're open, so like you have to go before they close because they close pretty early.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I think it was like 8 or 9.
Yeah, but I remember we
and then
go
it's
for
like every. What is it, like new moon or half moon? They don't sell alcohol because it's like in Hindu it's like a holiday.
Yeah, it's like a sacred day. You have to check your calendars, and there's always something going on. Yeah, but you can get alcohol. It can be done. It's not impossible,
and it's cheap.
Yeah. Did you have what they have Lion? They have Lion beer, right?
Yeah.
I like a good Lion. I haven't had one in a long time.
Yeah, I would love to have one right now with you, but I think we have to wait for that a little bit.
Yeah, we'll crack a Lion one of these days.
Yeah,
sometime soon.
Yeah, and what I wanted to say, and after that I went to the Maldives actually, and that's also something for surfing. Everyone who likes to surf, loves to surf, go to the Maldives, baby. It's incredible. It's really, really good. It's expensive. I had like that's also part of traveling. I think as more as you travel, as more people you get known, so you have friends from all over the world, and it's also as long. Like it depends, of course, to your personality, but as longer you're away, as more like open-minded you get, and like people also being in that same state of mind, kind of you connect very well. So there's things rocking up. For me, I've been on the Maldives for like a paid surf trip. It was ridiculous expensive. 10 days, Maldives. Surf was, yeah, it was a few good days. But like if you're 10 days there and you spend shitloads of money, you expect a little bit more than 4 good days. And then in Sri Lanka, I was like, hey, I text the captain because in Sri Lanka, actually surf was really disappointing there. And then I texted the captain from this surf charter and I was like, hey, dude, like I'm getting tired here in Sri Lanka. Can I come over? And he's like, yeah, come over. And then I ended up working there as the photographer on the boat. And I kind of, I paid like a little amount of money, but I kind of stayed for free on the boat. And dude, like 2 months on the Maldives for free. You shoot, take photos for like 2 hours a day, 3 hours a day. Then you edit a little bit, but the rest of the day you can surf.
Yeah, and you were living on a boat the whole time, yeah?
Yeah. But that was actually when COVID hit. So I went there, and I stayed like 1 month, 1.5 months. And then authorities told me that I have to leave the country. Still, all my stuff is back in Sri Lanka. I have like a 60 liters backpack in Sri Lanka. DJ equipment is there, skateboard is there. And because the plan was doing that gig on the boat on this surf charter for like 2 to 3 months, and after go back to Sri Lanka. I was actually thinking about settling in Sri Lanka and opening something because it's. I think if you want to invest money and start your own business, Sri Lanka is the spot too. It's like upcoming Bali. And
I've heard multiple people say that before. What area of Sri Lanka were you thinking of?
Especially Midigama. Wiligama I found already a little bit too much for my taste, but Midigama was pretty good. Midigama Clock Tower, there's Lazy Left, the Wave, Cyan is pretty good. Yeah, it's okay surf. I mean, I was a bit disappointed. It's more like longboarding waves, but yeah, it was a nice area. It was good vibes. Cool
You gotta get up north to Aragon Bay. That's where.
Yeah, it was not the season for it because Sri Lanka is split. Even it's such a small island, it's split, and it has like 6 months dry period on southwest, and then it's switching to northeast. So switching, and the season switch is in April, I think. Yeah, and then it's actually right 6 months. 6 months. So you can, I think it's nice from November until April in the southwest, and then after April it's good in Arugan Bay.
Yeah, it's pretty much like 6 months north, 6 months south. But
yeah,
I'm not sure if it's the same for a German passport, but for American passport, you can get a 6-month visa like no problem. You basically just fill out a form and show up, and like boom, you can stay for 6 months, which is a long time because most countries only give you a month or two.
Yeah, dude. That was I think in general Sri Lanka they lifted this visa fee, so you usually pay like a $30 visa. It's really depending from which country you are, so your citizenship, the passport you're holding, how much you pay. That's already a little bit like hill. So in this time it was for free. So it was 2 months. Sri Lanka said, hey, we don't charge any visa fees. And it was like, okay, I mean, I don't care about $30 visa fee. But maybe that's something about the extension. That was an experience from Bali. You have to go to an agent, then you have to go to the immigration, you have to go there 2 times, then you get back your passport. It's not such a hassle, but if you do it the first time, it feels like sketchy. And do you get your passport back? And you know that feeling, I think, right?
You're talking about the process in
Yeah, like
Bali.
it's not a big deal, but if you do it the very first time, it seems like shady and you don't know what to do. And
Yeah.
do you get your passport back if you just leave it with an agent because everyone told you back home the thing you never do is give away your passport, and then you give it to this like agency. And if you think now agency, it's like kind of a nice building. No, it's most probably not. This is, looks more like a bit of a shady place. And in
Yeah.
Sri Lanka, it was super cool. So you basically send an email to like the authorities, and then they send you back like a little document. You email it back. I think that's how it was, and then they and you have to put an address. And there's also like an attached sheet like that where you stay and how long when you entered and this and blah blah blah. So they send a courier to this place. You tell them, and they send someone. They pick up your passport with the document, like with all this like questions answered, like answered questions. And when they receive that, they send you via email. They send you a code. Then you go to the bank. You pay right away the money to the bank, so it's an instant transaction. And then you send them an email with like the receipt, and then they process, and you have it back within like another day. So the whole process takes like 3 days, and it's just like really hands off kind of like, yeah, you have to fill it out, print print a piece of paper, fill it out, and you have to go to the bank. That's it.
That's
And I think
pretty.
it's,
That's pretty good.
yeah,
A lot of people are always told, never give up your passport. Never give anybody your passport. Always
yeah,
keep your passport. And unfortunately, that's just not the case. In Thailand, they almost always take your passport when you rent a scooter or motorcycle. In Bali, immigration is going to take your passport for maybe a week or 2 weeks if you're going to do a 2-month visa. And
exactly.
it's, you got to let go, people. It's okay. They're
But
going to give you your passport back. It's not the end of the
yeah,
world.
I mean, it depends to who you give your passport, right?
Yeah, you got to have your wits about you, but 90% of the time, like it's part of the process. And we just feel like if somebody gets your passport, it's the scariest thing in the world, but it's
Yeah.
fine.
But it's also, I think it's good to know for everyone out there, if you give away your passport, take a picture of it.
100%. You should take a picture of almost every document, every credit card,
Yeah.
every piece
Yeah.
of ID that you have, just in case something happens. Because these days, a picture of a document is almost as good as the document.
Exactly, exactly. In Indonesia, you can even travel within the country with the copy of your passport. So if you have a picture of your passport, you can travel within Indonesia without any issues. Huh?
Yeah, I was extending my visa in Bali, and I was gonna go to Lombok for a couple weeks. So I was flying from Bali to Lombok, which anybody who's done that flight, it's like what 15, 20 minute flight, something pretty short. And I'm at the counter checking in, giving them my surfboards, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we need your passport." And I said, "Oh, I don't have my passport. I just have my California ID," which I don't know how many California IDs they see that often, but I said, "I'm just going to use this." And they're like, "Oh no, like we need a passport." And I had to tell them, I said, "No, it's at immigration getting extended. This is a domestic flight. I'm not leaving the country, so this will be fine." And they kind of just looked at each other and shrugged their shoulders, and they're like, "Okay," and just like let me go. And I was like, "Oh wow, this is fine, you know." But I have a quick thing to share with you about Sri Lanka and
Yeah.
just the things that we think are so true sometimes. So I was with an English friend of mine. We left Bali to go to Sri Lanka to meet up with group of Swedish friends, and we had just a small bag. And basically, we were going to leave. Did we land or we left? I can't remember. Anyway, we were in Sri Lanka, and we had to go to check in, and they said, "Oh, before we can let you into the country, you have to book a flight out of the country."
Yeah.
And I know I hate it when they say that to you. So
Yeah.
he goes up first to the counter, and he's your typical English guy, way too polite, super nice. They tell him this, and he goes, "Oh, okay," and he just walks off, and he's on his phone trying to find a cheap ticket out that he can like cancel later, and just to show the document. And I go up, and I did this thing which I call being super American, where I was just being very hard-headed and not loud, but just like I didn't understand, almost like kind of playing dumb. And I said, I don't know how long I'm going to stay. I don't need one. Go please talk to, I was being a Karen, they call it in America. I was like, go talk to your manager. I don't, it's like, I know I don't need this.
Super American.
Super American. And inside, I hate myself this whole time because I'm like, I love this country. I love these people. Like, why am I being such an asshole? But I don't want to get a ticket because I know I don't need this ticket out of the country. So same thing. They kind of look at each other and they're like, okay, fine, go on through. And they just let me in. And it's like they different countries and different immigration places, they try to really pitch this sense of like security and we're checking all these details and we know 100% of what's going on. And at the end of the day, they're like, nah, just go for it. You look harmless, So
yeah. But that's how it goes sometimes, right?
Yeah, but that's always a thing. They put pressure on travelers. They always want you to have a ticket out of the country. But a lot of times when you're traveling long periods of time, you don't know when you're going to leave.
Yeah, exactly. That's the point. That's but I get what is connected to? It's connected to that the country, if you are not able to afford a flight out of the country is responsible to get you out of there.
Exactly.
So and that's the point, and I get that because many people would stay there longer as their savings last, and I mean you have that in Bali nowadays a lot. It's people, they're in miserable situations, they stay there maybe for too long, maybe also like having some, I would say, mental issues, so they can maybe not stand the truth that they have to leave, and then they stay longer, and then they maybe start stealing or, doing like all this weird stuff. And then they miss the point where they can leave because then they don't have money anymore, and then it's up to the country to have to pay you to get out of the country. What I think it's understandable.
Yeah, I've heard different deportation stories. I've heard some crazy ones. I have a friend of a friend. His dad was kind of a shady figure, I guess, and he ended up overstaying his visa in Thailand. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Like, how long did he overstay? Like a week, a month? And he's like, no, he overstayed for 5 years. I was like, my God, 5 years, what happens? And it's like, it's a serious crime. He went to the jail.
No, it is.
Yeah, he went to jail in Thailand. And then,
shit.
Then I won't say the home countries, but he got deported from Thailand to his home country, and then he had to go to jail in his home country.
That's exactly, and that's what happens next. It doesn't mean that if they deport you, it doesn't mean that you're not facing the sentence, right? So you just face it in your own home country.
Exactly. And I mean, sometimes they won't deport you. Sometimes they just keep you. Please, whoever, again, who's listening to this, do your research on the countries, do your research on drug laws, do your research on all these things, because there are countries that have very, very harsh and strict rules. Talking about like
Indonesia is one of them.
Indonesia, Sri Lanka, Singapore. It's really, you don't need to bring drugs into a country. Don't do it. I don't recommend it. If you really, really are looking for something, you could probably find it when you get there, but like spare yourself the danger of doing something like that, because I've read so many articles of people that have gotten in serious trouble. And
dude, I have friends in jail, not one. I have a few friends in jail abroad, and that's not fun. It's it's like I think everyone can do whatever he wants, but like you said, really take care of it. Don't bring drugs into the country, and even there, just try not to. If you do it at home, the laws, but when you're in another country, of course, you can pay yourself off. Yeah, you can bribe the police a lot, like it works. But if you don't know how, you will not find the sweet spot to do that if it comes to a certain point, and that will get you into big trouble. And I just talked to my friends on the weekend here, and they had a friend here from the Netherlands. He had accidentally something in his pocket. Yeah, it was actually, it was really like it was in his pocket. It was not. He didn't want to take it. He spent 9 months in jail in Indonesia.
Wow.
You don't want that. He came home and he was not the same person anymore, as you can imagine.
I can only imagine. Wow.
Yeah.
Oof.
But maybe also to, I wanted to, that goes already really deep. What I wanted to say, like maybe also something I can recommend. If you need flights out of the country, so you put in Google, I can not, like I'm on my work computer, so I don't know the exact website. There is websites where you can create fake flight tickets. So you
Yes.
look up a flight, then you put it in there. And of course, that's not the legal way how to do it, but that's a trick around for those they don't want to buy a ticket, because I know it's a pain to get through this process. You can create like a kind of a ticket online. Yeah, you put in the same. Please do that, because they will check sometimes, and you can put in the same data from original flights they go, and then you have that ticket, so you don't have to just buy one and then waste it. Yeah, because it's wasted money in the end, because
Right.
most of the times you buy a cheap flight, you let it go, and even if it's $30, it's not necessary to spend $30, especially if you're on a yeah, let's say on a light on a small wallet,
Small
on a
wallet, a budget.
yeah, exactly, on a small
Yeah.
budget.
So there's a website you're talking about where you can basically, it's almost like photoshopping a fake flight ticket out of the
Yeah.
country. So there's that option. There's also another service where you can buy tickets from this website, and they give you a return option, and you just have to check the box, and it's only like €5 or maybe $5.
Yeah, it's like a buy and dump ticket. something
Exactly.
Like
So
that.
that's a good option. And then what you can also do, if you don't want to do anything that is, I don't want to say illegal, because I don't think these things are illegal. They're just,
No, it's not.
Yeah.
It's not legal. So it's
Right.
that's also sorry.
No, go ahead.
That's not legal.
Yeah. And then the last option, I think, is probably the safest option for people, is just go ahead and buy the flight insurance on your ticket. That way you'll be able to change the dates or modify the ticket when you actually know that you want to go. It's a most expensive option, but it will be cheaper than burning a whole flight ticket and not using it because,
Yeah.
somebody said that you had to have one, which, again, it's
Yeah.
not true.
Man, I met people are desperate on the airport, and then they bought like a ticket for like €400, and I was like, why didn't you buy a ticket like from Bali to Singapore? That would be enough already. And then I booked just one home.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, but you let that flight go. Like, this is €400 you burn.
Yeah.
And
Well, because they don't always compute. They think like, oh, I have to leave this country and go back to my country. It's like, no, you just have to leave this country and go to a country. Like pick the closest country with the cheapest flight. And again, this is something that comes from experience. This is coming from making mistakes,
Exactly.
and this is coming from the community. And that's kind of what I'm hoping we can share and talk about on this podcast is, how do we save some people some time, save people money, and get them to jump off and go experience the world before it's too late, before you either get too old or you have too many kids or too many commitments. You got to do this
Or you
stuff.
just get too old, man. I can feel it. Like I'm turning older, and I have this feeling for some reason to settle a little bit.
Oh, yeah?
Strange. Yeah, man, it's really strange. Like for me, it's something. It's becoming a little bit more and more like. But yeah, I mean.
Well, to all those ladies listening, Hogen might be looking for a wife. Just FYI.
I'm actually single for quite a while, and I think I will also stay single and just enjoy my life.
Yeah. All you got to do is you got to find a what do you call it? A girlfriend that surfs. If you can find that, I think you'll be a happy camper.
Yeah, but I was pretty unlucky with them. But to another, what I want to jump to another recommendation. What is I think a lifesaver, and it's cheap, really cheap compared to how much hustle it saves you. Whenever you travel to a country, it's enough if you do it in the airport before you take your flight. Just check how to get a SIM card for your phone.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you have a SIM card, in Asia it's pretty easy. I mean, of course, there's countries where it's not so not easy, cheap. In Asia, it's really cheap. I don't know about South America, never been, but it's super cheap, and you have internet. So if you have questions, if you have a translation problem, if you need to find a way, even if it's $20. What is $20? Because it saves you so much hassle, and usually the data is enough to cover you for a month, and you pay. What is it in Indonesia? It was like €7 and you have like 30
Yeah.
gigabyte or
I
something.
used to get all the data I needed for a full month for about $7.
Yeah, exactly.
And
That's
I
about
think
it.
I even had more than I needed, which was,
Yeah.
great. And then to all the Americans, I don't know if they do this in Europe, but we have a lot of contracts. If you have AT&T or Verizon and you have an Apple or Android, Samsung, whatever, a lot of times they lock your phone so that you can't use a SIM card in another country. So sometimes it's better to buy out of your contract or even to buy like a cheaper smartphone that you can go ahead and throw a SIM card from another country in, because it is a lifesaver. It's so convenient to just have access to the internet if you have questions or you're running around looking for a place to eat or you need directions. I'm definitely a person who says get off your phone and live your life and experience nature, but as a resource, it makes life so much better to just have access to a SIM card. It'll get you out of sticky situations. It can save you money. It's the smartest thing you can do. Just like the best tool you can have when traveling abroad.
Yeah, that's also my opinion. I think that's the most important, because with internet, I don't want to sound like, oh, you need internet, because there's a lot of people, they want to get away from social media and they want to get away when they travel. They say, okay, I also want to slow down all of that. But no matter what, it's like you said, like in Germany, you have the same contracts, locked phones and stuff like that. It's just, if you know you're going for long term, buy yourself out of the contract. That's by law. They have to provide it if you leave the country and you're not able to use the contract abroad, what most are not usable there without an extra payment. So then you basically just pay your phone back. That's basically what you do, at least in Germany. And then yeah, you are free to go, and then you get it also unlocked, and then yeah. But a SIM card there necessary, or Andrew, like I think that's we agree to that, right?
Oh, 100%. It's the
Yeah.
best investment that you can make.
Yeah, even if it's $40, I would not really. I would not mind, like, because I know how many times it really saved me, and you can just look things up. You don't need to. I mean, it's also nice to ask sometimes, but it's also nice to not sometimes.
Yeah, I
Depends
mean,
where you are.
I exactly like. I think it's awesome to ask. I think it's great to pull over and if you're on a scooter or even in a car, and say try to talk to somebody and use your broken English and your broken native language and what have you to try to get directions and maybe even connect with somebody. But there's times where there's nobody to ask. You're in
Or
very
they don't
remote
understand
location.
you.
Yeah, or completely have no idea. Or you say, "Oh, I'm trying to go here," and they just kind of shrug their shoulders and smile, and that's all you can do.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think also that's maybe something, especially from like maybe I don't want to say Germans, but I think there's many people like from Spain or from Italy, France, Germany. Their English is not that good, and that's a question that pops up in their head always. Like, but what if my English is not good enough to travel because it's not enjoyable, or yeah, what if? But that's also something I like to say. Don't think about it too much, because that will come naturally on the way. That's something, my English wasn't, I don't think it's like perfect, but it became pretty good. And it was just a natural way, because when I started traveling 5 years ago, my English was good. I was good in school, but then I didn't speak English for a long time and it got super rusty. And yeah, it got really quickly, it got better and better. So please don't. I think it's not good to take that as an aspect of, or like a reason why not to travel.
Yeah, 100%. I've met people, from Europe, South America, that they didn't feel super confident in their English, and they're like, "Oh, I don't want to say too much because my English isn't perfect." And I thought, have you heard native English speakers talk? Their English isn't perfect. I can't tell you how many people in America that their version of speaking English is not, easily understood. I've met tons of Australians. Some people really don't like this word. It's a word that I've heard is the term bogan. That's a very unique way of speaking English. To all my Aussie friends out there, oh yeah, nah yeah, like how we going? It's
Oi, boy.
hey boy, how are we? But I love
Yeah, it's
the
funny.
Australian accent. I think it's one of the best.
I love it.
Yeah, I would say I've always been complimented on my English, but not because it's necessarily sounds good or the accent is good. It's just because I think I kind of talk like a robot. So I'm really easy to understand for non-native speakers because I speak slow. I say every word. That's just how I've always talked. Even my friends in America think that I talk kind of different, I guess is the term. Yeah.
It's really it's nice to listen to, let's say that, and it's easy to understand, I would say, but it's not like a robot. And
Not yet, not yet. Hopefully in the future we can, have some robot, you know, kind of. I'm really into technology these days and everything that's going on with artificial intelligence, and then Elon Musk has this Starlink thing that's going out. Getting back to the cell phone, you'll be able to have like cell phone reception anywhere on the planet, like in the middle of the ocean, because of the way these satellites and airplanes and things are working. So I really think that technology is going to change travel. It's going to make it easier for people, less scary, because they're going to have more resources. They're going to have more tools. I mean, even nowadays, like having the cell phone while traveling, can you imagine traveling 10 years ago, 20 years ago?
with the map, the old school way,
Yeah.
dude. I mean, I wish I would have experienced. Yeah, I wish, because
Yeah.
I think that's a different way of traveling. But I'm also happy I hadn't. I mean, I've been in situations where I didn't know where to go, and you just had to, because there was also no one to ask, and you had to go with your gut feeling. But yeah, I think it's also like we are very privileged in the time where we live, and yeah, I think technology makes it easier and easier, but I want to go the other way around. I think it also makes it a little bit, because it's easier, it makes it more affordable, it makes it, yeah, it gets more exposure. It's also not the same like it was, because early, like let's say 15 years ago, if you would say like, hey, I've been to Bali, it would be like, whoa, what, Bali, where is that? And it's like, yeah, it's in Indonesia. Oh, Indonesia, where is that? Yeah, it's like that's what the people would say in Germany. It's like, oh yeah, but now it's kind of this normal thing. Yeah, it's like, hey, you've
Oh,
been.
it's like beyond normal. You tell people you go to Bali and they're like, "Oh, that's so typical. I guess,
Yeah,
you just go and get lost in Bali." But I feel like that's usually people say that who haven't been there, because like you said, if you get sucked into Kuta right from the airport and that's where you spend your time, you've missed out on, not only what Bali can offer, but
yeah, but it's a
what the
part.
neighboring islands can offer too.
It's a part of it, right? To get sucked into Kuda and being in this like super, in my opinion, sorry to say that, but disgusting place. It also has cool places to offer, or cool spots, but in general, it's just too touristy. It's like this, like Mallorca in for Australians, kind of.
Yeah.
Um, where like the word bogans comes back. But yeah, I don't want to dive too deep in that. But it's also part of it. Like it's the same if you go to Bali. It's the same like you go to Ubud, or if you are in Sri Lanka, that you go to Ella to see how's the rock called? Oh shit,
Oh, I know.
Adams
Yeah,
Peak.
Adams Peak, and then there's Little Adams Peak too that you should check
Yeah,
out.
yeah. Haven't been on the big one. I've been just on the little one. It was
The
really,
little one.
really good. But yeah, it's like I think it's all about. That's what I'm trying also the people to tell, because I had a few friends and they didn't know, should I go, should I not, should I travel, or should I just stay? I say, if you don't do it now, you have a problem. Because I mean, now you cannot, but as soon as this whole COVID is over, I mean, it's never too late. But if you put it always on the long, like on hold, and like, yeah, maybe in 2 years, there is a point where it's just not so easy anymore.
Yeah.
It is when you are in your, like, let's say mid-20s. I think that's the best, because you're a little bit mature, so you know a little bit, like, how to behave. And when you're super young, you might, yeah, you're a kid, yeah, let's say it that way. But when you're like 30, you might get the same feeling I got. You feel more like you want to settle somewhere, or maybe you have a girlfriend, or you're married already. There's a kid on the way. I have it. All of my friends, pregnant kids, yeah, it's possible, but it's not so easy anymore as it was.
Yes.
That's
Yes. It's not impossible. I don't want people to think that you hit a certain age and it's not possible for you to do that. I have several friends that are pushing their late 30s, early 40s that are still living this travel lifestyle.
yeah, yeah.
And you just got to find out what works for you, but it definitely gets more complicated as you get older. You know, I used to make this joke that people, like my mom even asked me, she's like, oh, I never thought about traveling when I was young. And I said, well, I want to do it while my legs still work. I want to go to places that don't have walking paths or sidewalks, you know, because as I get older, I have a feeling I'm going to go to more established places that are, you know, more concrete, more asphalt, more elevators, things that, you know, you can take me door to door, because maybe I won't be as capable as I am today to go run up a mountain or, you know, go surfing in shallow, reefy water, because I'm risking
Yeah.
my health and my wellness, or riding a motorcycle in Indonesia or Vietnam or India. Those are things that, you know, as you get older, you're like, maybe
Yeah.
I don't want to do this right now, you know?
You get also this typical. Everyone would say, "Oh, yeah, that's what everyone says." But as older as you get, as more careful, and yeah, you think twice before you do things, and you do a lot of things because your head tells you not to, because you could put yourself into danger.
Yes. Or you've heard more stories from more people that you've met of how things can go wrong, and you're like,
Yeah, and
whoa.
that's a part of business. Yeah, I mean, I had 3 big scooter accidents. I mean, people cannot see me, but I have a scar in my face. On my cheek, it was a scooter accident. I had like an open leg. I had infections. I had reef cuts. I had yeah. I was never in a really serious situation that I
Maybe
was.
some broken hearts also, yeah.
Oh yeah, I told you. The Berlin girl. Nah. No, broken heart is also part of it, you know. But
Yeah.
that's maybe also something we can mention, because you know, it's if you're abroad, you fall in love. That's also something. I mean, I love dating. You know, I love meeting new people. And but it's also something that's a big part of it, because your heart will get broken if you spend a lot of time abroad. It will not automatically just get broken by a girl. It will get broken because you don't see your friends, because you miss your family, because of this and but this is just a very short period of time. So especially in the beginning. So in the beginning, I mean, I don't know how it was for you, but for me in the beginning, it was like, pooh, you know, I was my own, like, it was a bit harder because of my English. It was a bit harder to connect to people. I was, no, not like looking always for the conversation, more like being in the background and like listening and this and that. And then when you're home, or you might get a food poisoning or something, and you're like 3 days in your bed, and then it's like it comes all together, and it's like, and you think about your family, you feel like crying, you know, all this. This is just a very short amount of time. Maybe cry, that's the best way to let it out, and then after that, the day after, you feel great.
Yeah.
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 I
I
don't know
agree.
how you feel. I think, you know, people say like, you know, I would not cry in public, but sometimes if you're very emotional, it helps you just to get out of it. Because if you keep it inside of you, I mean, it doesn't happen to me very often, but I had this, you know, like when you travel a long time, you have this like your head is about to explode, because there's so many things, there's so many feelings in you about like where you are, what to do with your life, blah blah blah. Maybe there's then also a girl involved, and I think sometimes, you know, just like when you lay in bed, just cry a little bit, scream in your pillow, and after you feel great.
I think, yeah, when you put yourself in a situation where you're away from your friends and your family for a long period of time, I think a lot of things come up, and it's a time that you don't get to do self-reflection. It's almost that you have to, because you
Yeah.
have the allotment of time. You're a little more isolated. And it's a great opportunity, because we talk about travel giving you the opportunity to grow. There are things called growing pains. And there are times that you're going to grow in a way that you didn't necessarily want to grow. You didn't think you needed to work on maybe your temperament, or when you find yourself in a new place, here's a good example. You have a personality and a way of being that exists in your, let's say, hometown with your friends. I'm this version of Andrew with this group of friends and my family. And when I went abroad, I brought that same Andrew with me to these different communities, and my character flaws came out. And in these very, very honest people, in these very honest groups, nobody let you be an asshole without you knowing it. They were very like, hey, why are you saying this? Why are you doing this? It was very, I call it very Dutch, because I think Dutch people are very blunt.
I have one. My story connected to yours. Please keep going. I have one. I just moved here to the Netherlands recently.
Oh, good.
Please
Then
keep
you
going.
know. So anyway, so I don't think Dutch people are rude. I don't think it at all. And I think most people agree with this, but they're very blunt and they're very honest, because I think they want to get the bullshit out of the way, and then we can move on being friends. So I've gotten some of the best character advice from Dutch people. And again, it was like, whoa, nobody in America would ever say anything like that to me, because at least in California, we have this PC culture. You can't say anything. You can't do anything. You can't be critical, because you're aggressing people. You're attacking people. And when I was abroad, I'd meet people and they're like, why do you say this? Why are you being like this? And you'd actually have to back up your beliefs. You'd actually have to back up what you think. And I think it's a huge opportunity to grow and develop oneself. Okay, so you just moved to the Netherlands. So you're in Rotterdam. You're surrounded by Dutch people. So what happened?
The shitty weather, rain, cold. I mean, by the time we're recording this year is March, yeah, so it's not very pleasant here right now in the Netherlands, especially after 5 years living in like the sunny side of the world. But yeah, man, it's good. It's good. I'm happy. I actually, like if you would have asked me 1 year ago, you would have said, "Hey, Hagen, I see you living in the Netherlands, like having like a normal job," because that's what I'm doing right now. It's like I'm doing partner management for a tech startup. It's pretty cool. It's a sick job, but otherwise I would not be here. But I would say like, what, Netherlands? It's cold. Like, I mean, there is surf, but it's not countable for me as a real surf. But and yeah, man, it's different. But what you said is actually very, very true. You call it Dutch. That's like a very honest and straightforward feedback of like, it's not that they want to be rude or like, yeah, they just tell you straight away like, hey, that's what they don't like. I made this experience here as well. Yeah, that's traveling pains. That's always, you cannot grow yourself without pain. It's always, if you go to the gym, if you study, if it doesn't matter, like even a relationship, it doesn't matter, friendship, what it is, it's always connected with pain. Otherwise, you can't grow.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's, I think, that's what people. Didn't want to scare people, saying like, you maybe sometimes you feel alone and but this is a part, like, it's like, you don't even want to imagine how many shit situations I was, but where I am now, I'm happy. You
Yeah.
know, I decided like, hey, okay, Netherlands, there's a job rocking up. Okay, I was in Portugal before. I was surfing. I had like I worked remotely. I had a good income. And then I was like, okay, this job sounds like an opportunity for my career, like a stepping stone. Okay, why not? Just to the airport in COVID times, to the airport, bam, to Rotterdam, and then people is like, yeah, but you don't know anyone. But that's all coming. Like that's, it's just the first time, I think, where you like think like, oh, I don't know people, but as longer as you're away from home, as less it gets a problem where you are. And you will find the sweet spots where to go. What is for me very complicated now, it's COVID and I'm in Rotterdam, so there is nowhere you can go and meet people. But usually there's a sweet spot to go. And I would say hostels, right? That's usually where to go. Like, it doesn't matter which country, which city. If you go to hostels, you meet people. And you don't necessarily need to stay there. I hope hostels owners, they don't listen to this now, because you make their places crowded, but you get me, right? Like,
I mean, that usually most hostels have a bar. So usually you can pop in and meet some people.
Yeah, but you also know these hostels, they don't have a bar and they're getting annoyed by all these crowds hanging out there and
Yeah.
not staying there. I
Yeah.
mean, this is not most likely like the point, but yeah. I think that's actually where I made most of my friends.
Mm-hmm.
No, I mean that's it's always good. Even now, I was in before I came here, I was in Porto, in Portugal,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, like there was like a hostel, like you said, they had a bar, and I went there instead of going to a bar where it's not so. I mean, for me it's easy, but for a lot of people it's not to talk to people. In a hostel, it's very easy.
Absolutely. It's the environment to put yourself out there. Because if you say, hey, my name's Hogen, or hey, I'm Andrew, most people will say, oh, nice to meet you. This is my name. This is where I'm from. This is where I'm traveling, la, la, la. It's a great environment. I also think that you can take those skills that you learn in a hostel, putting yourself out there, not just with new people, but new people from around the world. And you can take that and carry that into anywhere you go. It's a very empowering skill set to develop and have to be able to go up to anybody in any situation and be able to break the ice and have a conversation and make it feel natural.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something I missed. During COVID times, I felt like I was very isolated. I was living in Hawaii for most of the time. Can't complain at all. It was amazing.
Dude.
I know. I'm just saying it was very isolated, and I didn't get to scratch that itch of meeting that many new people, which is, I love surfing. I love what I do. I love my family. I love my friends. But up there is meeting new people. It's still, even, I'm 33 now. That's still something I really love to do because that's part of why I'm doing this right now, because I find it so interesting to dive in and learn about, what makes people who they are. And as it pertains to travel, what it took for you and all the other people we're going to be talking to make that leap and do something that all your colleagues and friends and family don't traditionally do, which is, spending time away from home for long, long periods. Getting back to the Rotterdam life, you actually know people in Rotterdam, though. We have a mutual friend living in Rotterdam, I believe.
Nah, he lives in Amsterdam. You mean Silva, probably, right?
No, I do. No, I do. I knew no Silva. I thought Silva was in another city. I forget which one.
No,
Not
no,
The
Silva
Hague.
is in Amsterdam, but who is in Rotterdam? Please tell me because I'm looking for friends.
I'm pretty sure it's Quinn. Isn't Quinn in Rotterdam?
But Quinn, I think, I mean, that goes pretty. Like, never really met him. I mean, we met. I think Quinn was with
Oh,
you when I started. That's how we met, right? That was
I
the time where Quinn was
so
with you,
so
and
Quinn knew Silva and Silva knew you. So I think
yeah,
Quinn introduced me to Silva and then Silva introduced me to you.
yeah. That's the point. What we just talked about. Like, I stayed in a hostel. That's where I met Silva, and then Silva met you, and you asked him to DJ on this gig what you started in Bali, and then because I was with him in the hostel and we DJed there a little bit together, then he asked me to join, and
Oh my God.
that's how it all came up, man.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so a few friends started this basically like a promotion company, and they would throw events at this bar, Gimme Shelter, and Silva would DJ, Hagen would DJ, and I came on a little later to start helping out. I was not one of the quote unquote founders by any means.
No, me neither. Me neither.
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
in the
you
second.
either. But we threw an event at this like outdoor food court restaurant, and our DJ didn't show up. And I walked across the street to, I think it was called like Hostel Canggu or Canggu Hostel.
Canggu Surf Hostel. Yeah,
Canggu
that
Surf
man.
Hostel.
Like,
It's not there. It's not there anymore, though, is it?
no. Now it's Bookie Hostel.
No, it's
That's
Boogie
it's the
Hostel.
landowner took it over.
Yeah, so I walk into this hostel. I'd never been there before, and I was like, I think Hagen DJ's here. I don't know. And so I go in and I see you, and you are blasted. You are so drunk. And I start talking to you, and I'm like, hey man, can you like help me out? We got this event that's like about to start, and our DJ didn't show up. Do you think you could play? And you're like, yeah, let me just finish this song. And you're like playing this last song, you're like doing the nice transition, and like I think you're ready to like fade it out, call it a night. And then you come over, you set everything up. I think you play a song or two, and then finally our DJs show up. They were
Yeah,
super
yeah,
lit.
I remember. Now you say that, I remember it was also pretty like I mean, like you said, like I had a few drinks before,
Yeah.
and I didn't get along with the equipment so well, and I was so happy when the DJ took over and he was like, yeah, he can. But yeah, right, that was the first time. Yeah,
Yeah, that was the first time we like quote unquote worked together, and
yeah,
the reason is because you showed up and did that, like you helped us. Literally, I know you just came across the street, but since you did that, that was what catapulted us to say like, oh, we should have him play at these Gimme Shelter events with Silva, you know. So that's where we started doing that. Those
yeah,
events were so fun. I had such a good time doing those
yeah.
things.
And you, man, I kept that going. It was over. Like you left. I think we did like 3, 4 sessions together. So it was every first Friday a month, and I think like until like 4 sessions you guys were in,
Yeah,
and I kept it going for almost another year. Like I think it did like 1 year and 2 months, 1 year and 4 months, something like that.
that is so great. I'm so glad that
Yeah.
event kept going just because it was so fun. And we would have like a lot of the expat community come out and join. A lot of the local boys that we knew would come out and hang out. It's just
Yeah.
those are just some of my best memories because I feel like the party life definitely started to decline, and most of us got wrapped up, and some of them were starting new businesses, and everybody was, you know, sometimes some people started a new relationship, and our friend group started kind of spreading out a bit more, but everybody would still go to those events, and
Yeah,
that's what I
yeah.
always thought
But
was
the
super
thing
cool.
is, it became really like, this is just side information, but it became really lame, let's say. Like it was really hard to, no, it was really hard to get people in, and it was not really successful, but they said like, you know, I mean, it was a rock bar, like a pure rock and metal bar. And they were like super happy with what I did and the commitment I showed, and that's why they kind of let me do what I wanted to in there. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think those kind of events, it helps when you have multiple people helping out. So the fact that you were
Yeah.
running it by yourself for several weeks or several months, you know, it's a testament to you and your work ethic. And it's like I still have very fond memories of it, but it was never an event that made really any sense because, like you said, it was a hardcore rock and roll, sometimes even like a death metal bar that
Yeah,
we
you
would
remember what you know what it reminded me to from the movie From Dusk Till Dawn, to the
100%.
Titty Twister bar.
It was just like that. It was really rough. It was not the kind of place you would expect to go to. But once a month on Friday, we'd rent it out like I think it was like 8 p.m. or 10 p.m. until however long, and we'd be
10
playing.
till late, yeah, 10 till
Yeah,
late.
we'd be playing house music, and it would just be a totally different vibe, and it was sick. I had so many good nights there. But
Yeah, 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 indeed,
yeah.
yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah, but man,
we've been chatting here almost an hour and a half.
yeah.
Is there anything that you want to cover, you know, while I still got you, or anything you want to share with the people?
No, man, I think we went across all kinds of topics. I mean, like, I'm really happy that you asked me to, when you messaged me, it's like, hey, because it was actually quite funny because I was thinking about something, yeah. And then you messaged me, like, out of a sudden, like, haven't talked to each other for a really long time. And it's like, hey, dude, like, would you be keen to talk in a podcast? I think you reacted to a story of mine, and then you asked me, hey, you want to talk in a podcast? I'm really, really happy to encourage people to get out and explore. And I think that's also in the last, that's going to be a few words, but, it's like, take the chance if you can. If you have people telling you about all these things you have to consider, and hey, and they most likely they will show you just negative points. But once you're out there, once you did that step, you decided I sell my stuff. Don't necessarily need to, because I didn't even know how long I wanted to be away. I told my friends, as more stuff I sold, I was like, oh, I'm getting this weird feeling, and I don't know if I really stay for that long, but I will leave. And if I come back after 3 months, 3 months is really, if you want to stay long away, try to do it longer than 6 months, because the first 6 months that's the pain months, where you have a lot of touching points, where you get tired of it, you get emotional, you get sad because you miss friends and family. But if you stay over that, then you get to this point where it just feels good. And I don't actually know anyone who regret. And that was also for me. I say, like, if I come back after 3 months, I tried, I left and I decided it was nothing for me. But I really want to say, like, try over the 6 months, because that's where a lot of people leave already, and usually it gets, as longer as you stay away, as better it gets. That's exactly what that's what I think, how I feel. And if I'm always up for questions, if someone has serious travel questions. I mean, I don't know if you link my account somewhere in Instagram or whatever, just drop me a message. I cannot handle a lot, but I hope, and man, if this podcast goes really through the roof, then I have a problem. Then I'm
Well, it'll be a
good
good problem for all of us to have, and I'll definitely link all your information in the bio, and people can reach out.
I'm happy to help out, and I think that's also part of traveling, right, Andrew? So if you travel, you learn how it is when you are in a miserable situation. And you're very happy to help people. And even if it's, taking time for 2 minutes to respond to a message, that doesn't cost me a lot of time, but it might be a good influence to that person you're speaking to. And it gives them maybe the necessary, or like the missing drive to do what they might want but don't know.
Yeah, okay. Absolutely. I think we talk about the value of money, we talk about the value of assets, but we also need to talk about the value and the currency of relationships. And I think keeping people that you've met and had experience with in your life, keeping in touch with them. It's never too late to reach out to people you haven't talked to in a really long time, because there's so many things that you can offer each other. Insight, you've done a lot of the same things, you've been to a lot of the same places. You can kind of lean on each other for perspective. And hopefully, which I hope all the travel friends of the world get to do, is you get to visit your friends in their home country, and you get to host each other. Because I think that's a really magical experience when somebody comes to visit you in your home country, or vice versa, and you get to take them in your backyard, and take them to the restaurant that you always go to, or buy them the stereotypical German food or Dutch food, that's always. And while you're in the Netherlands, for me, please go have a stroopwafel. I'm addicted. I love those things. A stroopwafel? You don't know what a stroopwafel is?
No, I don't.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna change your life. Walk outside and just ask somebody. They'll point down the street. There'll be like a stroopwafel place for sure.
Stroopwafel. Okay, I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah.
I have some waffles at home because the Italian girl that gave me the flat, she left some waffles there and she took them to Italy. Is it like like hard waffles?
They're hard. They're super flat, thin waffle, and right in between it is some caramel or caramel, depending how you like to say it.
I see.
The best one is go to I don't know what's going on with COVID in the Netherlands. I hear it's very strict, but usually at like a weekend market, you can go and there's a guy making like a dish, like a dinner plate size one, and it's like €1 or €2, and it's like, oh my gosh, it's not good for you. It's not healthy, but it is good for the soul.
But it's good. So, if it's not healthy, it doesn't necessarily mean it's not good. Sometimes.
Yeah. All right, Hogen, with that, I'm going to let you go. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this. And everybody, have a good day.
Yeah, man. Thank you very much for having me. And thanks for all people listening. And safe travels.
Awesome. Safe travels, man. Take care. All right.
Yeah, you too. Bye-bye, man.
All right. Bye-bye, everybody.